Good morning, my lovely, 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 lovelies. How are y'all doing today? Have you all been able to wake up pretty easily? Oh, shit. Testing, testing, testing. Why is my mouth not moving? Hello? Is VTube Studio not working properly today? Interesting. Oh, great. Oh, great. Let's see what's going on here. Chad, did you break all my stuff again? Why would you break my stuff? Alright, 1 second. All right, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. No idea why that decided not to work today of all days. Interesting, interesting, interesting. But good morning. How's everybody doing today? Can you hear me okay? Mm-hmm. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Don't tell me I'm muted. Good morning. Thank you, Keeper, for getting first. Thank you, Vaniers, for getting second. Thank you, Echo, for getting third. Good morning, Ocean. Thank you for the lurk. Hello, little alien. How was work last night? Did you have to stay out late, or did you get back in and get time to work on your wing? Good morning, Silas. Good morning, Keeper, again. What do you mean you're feeling shrimp? What does that even mean? Good morning, Isabella. He's here. Did you stretch? Oh, good morning, Shay. No. Wow, wow. Anyways, let me stretch real quick. I don't know what it means to feel shrimp. Your Twitch is lagging. Good morning, Lilithit. Lilithit? Lilithit? I'm doing alright, and yes, Shay, I have stretched now. Vanya pinned. Yes, they did. I'm glad none of you know exactly whose child it is, really. It's a secret, chat. You'll never know. I'm getting a spanking. That's fair. Would not be the first time. You would have to walk me through how your name's pronounced. Huh? We have halvesies on the letter, right? You'll never know, chat. By the way, is the music too loud? Oh, wait, you can't hear the music, can you? Wow. This morning I'm just doing so great, you know? Or there we go. I have a tea already. Mm. Starting to storm as soon as Gene started streaming. That's right. I am a storm. Did I not sleep well? Not particularly. I do so very rarely sleep well, unfortunately. But, you know, it could be worse. Could be a whole lot worse. Just a very simple black tea. Black tea with lemon in it. Mm. I'm going to send you a big plushie to you in your bed. To out in your bed. I'm going to send you a big plushie to out in your bed. I'm so very, very confused. No, it's okay, Vanya. Out in your bed, understood. I did go to sleep earlier, but I also had to wake up earlier, so it really didn't add up to much time. I think I had a total of maybe 4 hours of sleep. It's okay. So instead of, having normal tea, we're gonna have tea with a little bit of cheese subs in it. So that, I can feel even more awake. Mm. There we go. Lemonade G-subs with tea in it. To give me that extra kneading sample of caffeine. You kind of cut my toe open. Well, don't do that. Do you know who else does tea? The tea company. Awful. But it's warm. And I wanted something warm this morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh. We forgot to mute that. Good morning. What were you all streaming? ASMR as well? How was it? I hope your morning went fantastically. I love your cute emotes. They look like a lot of fun. Silas, I can't drink you. So this morning we're going to be doing a little bit of ASMR, hardcore Minecraft, as always. They don't want to see my cute emote, Vanya. I am doing pretty well. Is the music a good volume for you, chat, by the way? Or is it too loud? There we go. Good volume. Alright. Perfect. We'll swap over to the gaming screen. Hi, thank you for the follow. Rogue Reaper. No winner this time. The bipolar bear. I like your name. I like your name a lot. The bipolar bear. And Berry Blue, how are you doing? Fun. Andrank. If you need to raid and run, please feel free to do so. If you want to spend some time here and hang out, please do that as well. I do appreciate you trusting me with your community, and I promise to be as kind to them as you would be. Unless you bully your community, in which case I might also do that. You kicked your front door. Don't do that. It is much, much too early to exist right now, chat. Don't worry about it, Rogue Reaper. Also, is the game too loud, or is the game a decent volume for you all? Or should it be a little louder? Your voice is one of the voices of all time. Necro, you are so right. You are so right. It is in fact a voice. And it is one of them. Oh, so we'll turn the game up just a little bit. Good morning, Hikaru. How you doing? I'm doing pretty well. You're welcome, little alien. But how's your day going, Hikaru? And thank you for the follow, Necro. When am I not sleepy? That's just whether or not you can tell how sleepy I am. Sleeping. Difficult. I couldn't think of more words to say though, so I guess that does prove how much more sleepy I am today. A sleep stream. And migraines. I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope you're able to cure your migraines. You're waiting for your sleepy medicine to kick in. Good luck, Silas. Oh, what kind of sleeper am I? Give me some options. What options do I have? I'm gonna be honest, when it comes to types of sleepers, I might not be the most imaginative. Are there sleepers that just don't sleep well? Snore. I think I snore. Depends on the day. I do usually fall asleep very, very quickly. And I probably move around in my sleep. Not the most pleasant of sleepers. But I at least enjoy my sleeping. I snore like an old man. Really? Could be worse. Yes, Shay. Oh, thank you for the reminder, Shay. Best for you. Hi, Kendra. Thank you for the lurk. Oh, you're right. Sorry. For all of chat. Or at least everyone who wants one. By the way, lovelies, the man working on my voice acting demo reel has made more progress on it. Chat, we need to live on the giant mountain. Is that just a pillar? That is going to be so inconvenient to live on. We're going to live in the most inconvenient space. And from there, we'll beat this game. Anya. Oh yes. The man working on my voice demo reel has done a little bit more work on it. So hopefully that'll be done soon. Good morning, Casey. Yes. Unless we can find something more enjoyable to live on. I'll look around. Vanya, I said your name because you keep trying to eat people. I could. Chat. I may have made this tea awfully. It tastes like lemon, sugar, and disappointment. What jubilee. Good morning, Azalea. Necro, why was that a little cute? Can I make another cup? No, I've decided I must live with my failings today. Maybe I'll have 2 cups of tea. But I must bear the brunt of my failings today. Hello, Bee. Good morning, Ika. How are you doing today? Lovely to see you. Casey, can you make me a cup as well? You cannot stop me from making extra energy tea. Cuppa. You British. You British and your cuppas. You're fine, good to hear. Well, Azalea, I hope you had a good time playing. You wrote a poem about me. I'd love to hear it. Tell me about it. Tell me about this poem. Should I be worried? Bro is a warrior. Oh, I worry way too much. That is very, very true. Spend too much time thinking about things that could happen. When in reality, none of it will. Look at the cute little shipwreck. What a lovely little shipwreck. Chat, we found buried treasure. We have our plot. Y'all were called some wild things in high school. All I gotta say. Oh, chat, the tea has gotten better. I think I drank past the G Fuel because the G Fuel didn't mix properly. And so now my tea is mostly just sugar and lemon. Sorry, G-Subs, not G Fuel, you're right. Chad, I'll never get sponsored by G-Subs if I keep getting the branding wrong. Smelly. How much sugar did I add into my tea? Well, you see, when I made my tea, I decided I was going to just put sugar into it until it felt right. And then I lost focus. Oh, Rosin, good morning. Mwah. Thank you for the redeem. Tongue sigils. That's crazy. Yeah, exactly, little alien. You do need to be my personal barista. Good morning, Octagirl, aka Octagrill. How you doing? Vanya, why are you so excited? You thought about Splatoon? I've never played it. How is that game? Oh, wait. Really? Chat, look at you teaching me things. Apparently, though, I can't figure out a map. So, I've gone in a big circle. There we go. Good morning, Berry Blue. Go further south. Ah, here we go. We're starting to figure it out. Morning, Berry you doing today? I hope you're having a good morning. Hello, chat. We're getting hungry. Let me get some materials. And do the thing that Nova always gets upset with me about. Making all my wood tools. I do appreciate that. Yes, lettuce is very important. And we also have the brand new Mpreg emote. Why is there water down here? Can somebody explain this to me? Wherever I choose to dig, there's just always water there waiting for me. Oh no. I create a lot of fountains. I don't know what that means, and I'm not sure I want to know. You have worse emotes. I'm excited to see them. Oh, good. I'm glad you found the poem. Alright, explain it to me with graphs. I'm driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that bump is shaped like a deer. D-U-I. Now how about you die? I'll drive 100 miles an hour. That's right, Chet, by the way, if you haven't taken your meds yet, please take your meds. Step chat is wild. Oh no, step chat, I'm stuck. Little alien, you shouldn't be drinking so early in the morning for you. Celia, Angel, you are such a good girl. Such a good girl. Thank you so much to the redeem. That's not how it works. Just because you haven't gone to sleep yet does that mean... Just because... No. We're not having this argument, though. Alright, if you're drinking gin, then so am I. ASMR alcoholism, let's go. gold that be, keeper? What gold do you have? 30 away from what? It's okay, Octon girl. Trust me, they used to be worse. Used to be a lot worse. But we've toned it down a little bit. Guten Morgen, Tollkirsch. Wie geht's? Good morning. Oh? How are you doing this lovely, lovely morning? What weren't you expecting? Turn around until the little dot has color in it. I don't know what you mean by that. There is no color. If there is a faster way to speedrun mental illness, then, well, I wouldn't know. I think I've already made it there. Oh no, I read your thing, Silas. It's just too much for me to read right now at once. Ja, ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen. Meine Mutter ist Deutsch und ich habe ein bisschen gelernt, wann ich war ein kleines Kind. Ja, aber mein Deutsch ist nicht so gut. Okay. We will fill in this circle eventually. I did find your graph very informative. I did like it. Wait, chat. Oh. Little alien, you are far from innocent. I know that already. No, I'm not German. Oh, I'm half German. But I was born and raised in the United States. My father is American. My mother is German. Good morning, Chomp. I'm so sorry, Chomp. You know I didn't mean it. Azalea, I did do the good girl redeem for you. I'm sorry you didn't register it, though. I could always do it again. Keeper, we are friends, so yes, that is true. You do have a friend who has both of those things. You're allowed to have more than one friend. I think you might be lying to me. Chat, if multiple friends were allowed, then why don't I have any? Azalea, my lovely little angel, you are such a good girl. Always such a good girl for me. Thank you for the redeem. You're like a flustered burrito. Oh, that is cute. A very flustered burrito. Adorable. Oh, and thank you for the stretch. Give me 1 second here. Alright, Chad, it's time for me to go a little bit insane trying to find this treasure chest. Are you ready for my descent into madness? You're kidding me. Oh my god. Eclipse, that's adorable though. Well, that was easy. I'm a little disappointed, honestly. I think I found 3 chests in my entire life, and normally they took me clearing out everything. Gene, with his deep velvet voice that wraps around the room like midnight silk, the shadow dipped in black and red. Bold, mysterious, but always warm, he flirts with the chat, teasing with that goofy grin that sneaks in between his caring words, making every silly joke feel like a secret meant just for us. In his world of dark hues and electric laughs, he's the heart beating steady beneath the screen, reminding us we're seen, heard, and never alone. Gene, you're home. Thank you for loving us. Oh, adorable. What about being 6'4"? What are we talking about here? Why did my height come up? How I'm short with my 6'4"? Yes. Itty bitty. Good morning, Dar, sweetie. 6'4" is actually too tall in centimeters. Oh, I forgot I had put that in there. Yes. I haven't read my bio in a long time. 5'8", that sounds about right. I will update my bio. Alright, lovelies, a hydrate has been redeemed, so I'm going to go grab some water real quick. Can you all keep yourselves entertained while I go grab water? You won't miss me too much, will you? Good. I'll be right back. Yes. I don't know how to feel either, but I'm sure you'll get to figure it out eventually. Alright, chat. We're back. Hopefully you didn't miss me too much. Let's see what happened in chat. Morning, Pinky. Missed you. Missed you too, sweetie. Can we get a shout out for lovely, lovely Pinky? There we go. Yeah, I saw you there, little alien, trying to set fire to my walls again. You know, you shouldn't set fire to people's walls. I still need to fix that command. Where is Vanya gonna live? That's a child. I shouldn't kill the child. You won with Agnes Tachyon. Good. If this wasn't a chill, relaxing stream. Oh, I'm on the wrong scene, am I? Don't know how that happened. If I wasn't on a chill, relaxing stream, I would play the song Tachyon right now. But that'd be very, very aggressive, and I don't think anyone would enjoy that this early in the morning. Oh, Eclipse. What's up, Octogirl? Eclipse, sweetie. You are such a cute little thing. I really, really, really appreciate you being here. Getting to see you in stream is always a highlight of my day. You bring such good energy to the stream. And, like I've told you before, I am so happy you found your way into this community. And I hope you never leave. And that you can get as much out of stream as I get having you in it. Thank you so much for that, Redeem. And I hope in all things that you attempt, you succeed. Now what is it? What is that little emote? What are you spamming? Are you booping? Oh, I'm glad you're never leaving. Look, chat, we found a home. Wait a second. We're gonna live in this cute... What did I just hear? You. What do you think you're doing in my home? Who gave you permission to live here? This is my home. Chad, I'm gonna need you to close your eyes real quick. I promise nothing is happening. It's fine. Alright. Do I know about the game? Yes, and I just lost the game. I just lost the game. Can I make food in a blast furnace? No, I cannot. Well. I'm glad to hear that, Eclipse. it's time we do a little exploring chat. See what this village has to offer. Sleep well, Azalea. Sleep well. What kind of idiot exists in this village who decided the best place for all of this hay was in the dead center of this area? Crazy. Good morning, Yoru. How are you doing today? Good night. Sleep well? It's 4:30. What is the Arfredim? Oh god, I forgot. Nothing. It's not real. You can't prove to me that it exists. Oh no. Arf, arf. I'm such a cute little puppy. Arf, arf. How dare you? How dare you? So rude. Horsies. Hello, horsies. I love that the farm, they all lost their hat, chat. They all lost their hat. They unfarmered themselves. How did this happen and why? I'm so confused. My favorite animal, I do like dogs a lot. Dogs are very sweet and kind and wonderful. I'll go with a dog. Not a dog. I suppose people are okay though. Not the best, but I think people are pretty decent. And there's proof of a lot of things, a lot of lies. Even if I can't admit they're lies. Good morning, Nakoni Felina. How are you doing today? Exactly, little alien. You are an alien, aren't you? Well, I'm glad you're having fun in VR, Felina. Alright. You are whatever you want to be. You are most definitely a blossom. Wait, I can repair things? I didn't know I could repair things. That's so cool. Has that always been an option in this game? I don't hate anyone, chat. You know this to be true. How could I ever hate anybody here? You're all such lovely, lovely people. Oh, that sounds fun. I hope you enjoy your little bowl. A carrot. Chat, why would I want a doggy treat when I have you? How is the league going for you? Are you winning any games? The league is definitely not my kind of game, but I'm glad you're finding enjoyment in it. You live in a hole now. Get in your hole. Get in your hole. Now that hole is you-sized. What is ARAM? Stop, stop, stop. Stop. In your hole. You. Get in your hole. How dare he? What is ARAM? You just got McQueen. Well, congratulations. Is this another village? Look at that. Another village. Or it's part of the same village and I'm just dumb. Which really would not be surprising. Cherry blossom trees. I'm so sorry for those of you who are stuck in an ad break right now. Look at the cherry trees. Oh, and look at the pretty pink flowers. Oh, it's adorable. Oh, it's so cute. Oh no, welcome back, Octagirl. I hope you're not stuck in an ad. Wow, this is beautiful. Well, we missed you, Octagirl. I'm glad you're back. Look at all the cherry blossom trees. Don't kill me, bees. All I want to do is make a hive. It's time to fight bees, chat. Good news, chat. We can be bees. I may have made a mistake, chat. I may have made a mistake. Poison won't kill me. You say that. But then when I go try to drink actual poison and it kills me, I'm gonna come back and haunt you. That's a good idea. I'll have to do that next time. Fine, Chad, I won't kill any more bees, okay? Good morning. Thank you so much for the follow. I hope you're doing well today. I refuse to sleep with that man. Hello, creepers. Hello, skeletons. Hello, mistakes. Hi, Emdis. How you doing? Yes, cuddling. I can't sleep without cuddling. That's why I don't sleep well. I'm kidding. No, I like to drink tea before I go to sleep. You like cuddling people to help them sleep? Wow. It's good to know, Octagirl. You're gonna get me. Don't get me. I'm innocent. Why are you trying to get me? I do like chamomile. Chamomile is so good. One of my all-time favorite teas. But I also have a sleepy time tea that I like to drink. It has lavender and a few other things. I have so many different kinds of medicinal herbal teas. They're very, very lovely. That feels right. What? Pumpkin. Pumpkin Man now, chat. Oh, I'm sorry your Wi-Fi cut out. Oh. I'm partial to the tea liver disaster. Lala, you mentioned bath salts, and I thought you were saying you drank a tea that was a bath salt. That sounds like an awful flavor of tea. Why would they make something like that? I do have a Discord. It's a secret. Exclamation point Discord will get you there though. All better. Now I just need to fix this spot back here. The link does work now. It's worked for a while. Exclamation point Discord and it will work. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, little cherry. You're the color of my underwear. What does that even mean? Guess. You wanna guess the color of my underwear? Thank you for giving a shout out to Keeper Fate. They're also a lovely streamer. You should check them out. Okay. All back to normal. Oh, isn't that fun? I didn't realize you could use a stone cutter to... Well, I guess it makes sense. Good morning, Mitchie. How you doing today? No, I do 2 to 3 ASMR streams a week. So I'll give you a little rundown of my stream schedule. Every other stream in the morning stream. Actually, no, that's a bad way of describing it. I stream twice a day, every day. Once at 3:30 a.m. MST. And once at 4 p.m. MST. Each stream is about 2 hours. And my morning streams, I do every other stream as ASMR. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. Tanya, sweetie. I hope you know how genuinely much I appreciate you. Not only as one of my 3 mods now, but just as a friend. You've helped me make it through so much. You've given me so much support. I really, really do appreciate you. You're a kind, loving person, and you deserve only the best in life. And I hope you're able to get everything you deserve. Yes, so 2 streams a day, 3 streams a week are ASMR in the morning. Saturdays, Sundays, we do a general mix of things. And the afternoons are either just chatting streams or just chatting streams or they are gaming streams. They're only 2 hours each, it's fine. I've been streaming every day for the last 22 days. I have been considering taking one afternoon off for the weekend so I can go mountain hiking or trekking. That way I can spend a little bit more time in nature. Exactly. Good morning, VTuber Rixus. I hope you're having a good morning. How are you doing today? And if you'd like to see the schedule, on Twitter at RealLuckyJene, R-E-A-L, there's my schedule. Oh, well, I hope you have a lovely sleep tonight. Echo, you're the one who chose to come to the stream. I'm glad you got more sleep, though. Oh, and a little heads up, chat. I will be visiting family mid-August, so I will be doing mobile just chatting streams for about a week. That way we can keep the stream up, I can still check in on you, but it won't be the full-length streams we normally do. Yes, Octa Girl. I do some voice acting. I am currently working on getting my demo reel finished. Hopefully I'll get some actual gigs soon. No official jobs as of yet, but I have auditioned for a few roles recently. Cheers. I sure hope so. Taking your makeup off yet. Make sure to take care of yourselves, little alien. Thank you for the follow. Greatly appreciate it. I hope you enjoy your time here. No winner this time. By the way, Wednesday we'll be testing the 3DO. I think I can get it set up properly and hopefully not bring in any additional noises. And oh no, I broke it. Back. Oh, the 3DO is a dimensional mic that has 2 inputs to allow a 3D soundscape. To put it plainly, if you've ever seen those headphones with the ears on them, enjoy your nap, Mitchie. That's what those are. I will be testing it on a morning stream this Wednesday, a morning stream. And if it goes well, we'll have a nice little fun ASMR stream. Are you looking for energy or are you looking for focus? Yes, listen to Korn. Specifically Twist by Korn. Do you do a Korn cover? I've considered it actually. I thought about covering Trash. Yeah, Vanya, I got your storm. Why does this make me so sleepy? Chad, I'm gonna put myself to sleep on accident. What do you mean? My yawn is too good. No, I'm so sorry. Can you imagine just hearing me collapse? That would be very funny. If I pass out and snore on stream, you'll cry. I do know the Goo Goo Dolls. I like that band. Oh no, Chad, it's nighttime. I have heard the Goo Goo Babies. Hypothetically, I mean, thank you for the hydrate, Ami. How you doing? This isn't the Minecraft soundtrack. This is a lo-fi playlist. A lo-fi piano playlist. But I think it's very fitting. And yes, Lala, the little alien, if you were to request me cover the song in the Discord, I may cover it. Hello, little spider. Unfortunately, you're full of string. I got no string. Isn't that disappointing? That makes sense, little alien. That does make sense. How you doing, Ami? How's your morning going? What's your favorite band? Is it Ami or Amy? I don't want to mispronounce your name too egregiously. Thank you for the like, Chump. I've run into a problem. I don't remember where I was working just now. What's up, Skilly Man? Lovely. Back to mining. Why not? Go for it, Vanya. I don't know what that song is, but I feel like you should do it. I don't know many songs. You have to realize, Vanya, I lack much knowledge of many things. You should wash your water bottle if it smells like ink. Ink or nail polish? Did you put ink or nail polish on your bottle? Favorite movies? I liked a lot of comedies growing up. Robin Hood, Men in Tights was one of my favorites. Treasure Planet, of course, because I am a bisexual disaster, so I'm legally required to like Treasure Planet. I loved quite a few of the Magic School Bus. Yes, little alien. Really? Oh, I absolutely live for the first scene where he's riding the solar surfboard. Really? Yeah, no, that checks out. Oh, Atlantis was also a favorite. But I wasn't really big on the Atlantis sequel. Oh, I also did love Hercules as well. Where do you think my love of himbos came from? there's plenty of proof that I'm not a twink, but, you know, you do you. Alright, Chad, it's time to collect sand. You and that emote. Click on save. What do you mean? Alright, time to click send. Hi, Ice Knight. How are you doing today? That's fine. You're allowed to speak nonsense. Everyone should be allowed a little nonsense here and there. Thank you for the kiss. Lying flat. Well, I hope you're enjoying lying flat. I appreciate the redeem. Oh, you and this. What compelled you to want me to do the little hand motions so much? Yeah, there you go. Awful. I don't think I've ever seen Fantasia. It's on my list of things to one day see. I've never seen a lot of things, you'd be surprised. Is it? If ever I have the time for a movie night, I'll do a movie night. Well, you're right about that, Vanya. I have never seen those. I cannot say no. Really? And how are you gonna make me? You're gonna strap me to a chair. What an interesting proposition. No, there's no bed in here. Me when I get got. No. Meine liebe Kirsch. That easy, huh? Ooh, lemon always Always lemon, always lemon. Never anything else but lemon. Oh no. I want the big stack of sand. There we are. I'm not really a fan of watermelon. The blast furnace hates me, chat. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. There you are, chat. A little bit closer to my mouth. I don't need to stretch so much and can sit a little bit more comfortably. Thank you for getting closer. Oh, well then get yourself watermelon if that's what you want. I'm gonna need to go find iron, chat. Thank you, Kish. Schlaf gut, oder? Habe ein schönes Tag. No, come on. Say it, little alien. Don't be a coward. Let me hear it. Trust me, Vanya's probably said worse. See? Speak of the devil. Don't put me in a voodoo doll. You heard me, Voners. Come on, little alien, we're waiting. Alright, I can make it a lot worse. Are you ready, little alien? Yeah, no, G Fuel is awful. G Fuel is the absolute worst. It has so much actual chalk in it. That's why if you mix too much, it tastes horrible. G Subs, on the other hand, you can mix infinite and it will always taste good. Into your mouth. Well, that was scary. Makes sense. Miku cup noodles. Why would there be Miku cup noodles? So weird. Miku, Miku, well, they go Miku, Miku. I like this one better. Alright, back to it. Where were we? Digging all the way down till I can find iron so I can make myself an auto smelter. All I want, chat, is enough iron to make an auto smelter. Oh, Eclipse. Sorry to hear that. You cut yourself a mullet. Very nice. I hope the mullet looks good. I used to have a mullet. I think my curly-haired mullet looked good. Vanya, did you like my curly mullet? Bring back the mullet. I have to let my hair get long enough again. I'm working on getting it to the right length. I might do the mullet. The jellyfish cut. I don't know what that is. Don't eat my hair. Oh, I almost killed myself, chat. That would not have been pleasant. Thank you for the follow. And thank you for being banned. I refuse to kill you. You're just gonna have to live. Oh, well, right back at you. Right back at you, little raccoon. No, you're not banned. Don't worry. Is your Wi-Fi doing okay now, though? I hope it's doing alright. Alright, my lovely, lovely, there it is. Iron. I've been looking all over for you. I'm glad we found it. I don't like the sounds. Something sounds off. Oh no. Well, I think we have enough iron for now. Enough that we can go put all this iron in the blast furnace. It's the Twitch servers, that's fair. Speaking of chat, did you know that the amount of VTubers is in decline currently? I was doing a little research on it. But it seems the viewership hasn't changed much. Well, it has increased a little bit. But the quantity of VTubers has decreased. Which means that there could be a higher viewer density to each streamer. I think they want to get me. Nothing. Just that there's less VTubers than there were before. There we go. Perfect. Alright, lovelies. This is where we're going to come to an end. Don't explode. I hope you all had a lovely, lovely time. I know I did. Let's see what we have going on right now. Little alien, don't cry. Unfortunately, I have to go to work. Oh, I didn't want to. There we go. Let's see what we have. Alright, chat, I'm not raiding into the puppy girl. Those are a bunch of real people. There's some shrimpies. Oh, that one actually looks kind of nice. Should we raid into shrimps, chat? Do you want to see shrimps or do you want to see a river? Alright, I'll raid you into the river. Alright, y'all enjoy that clear river water. I'll be back today at 4 p.m. I hope you all have a lovely, lovely, lovely evening. Nya, nya. Mwah. I just did it. Bye.